Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Siami Mubaraka and I'm back for this jilbab free class. So in today's class, I'm going to be showing us how to take the jilbab measurement and how to cut our jilbab and how to sew our jilbab. I'm likely going to break it into bites, but first of all, let's just get into taking measurement. Taking measurement of the jilbab is as easy as ABC. All you need to do is have the person you want to make the jilbab for, your tape roll, and take your measurements. Maybe a biro and a book for measurement taking. So to take your jilbab measurement, make sure that your client is standing straight and she's looking straight too. Like she's looking straight, she's not looking down and she's not looking up. Ensure that she is looking straight. So after that, you take your tape roll to the front of her head, through the front of her head. You can ask her to hold it like that. Then let me show you what the measurement will look like. You run your tape rule all the way down. There are tape rules that go all the way down. Those kind of tape rules are about 120 inches. But for this type of tape rule, if you are using this type of tape rule that is just 60 inches, when you get to 60 inches, tell her to release the tape rule and pick up another measurement from there. So for her, the back of her jilbab is 70 inches because I've added 60 inches plus the extra 10 inches that I got. Then the next thing that you have to take, the next measurement that you have to take is the front measurement of your jilbab. The same way, you run your tape from the person's forehead all the way down. From these measurements, I have 62 inches. From our measurement, I have 62 inches. So please write it down. I'm using a 70 inches back length, a 62 inches front length. Now for the side of your jilbab, take measurement from around the person's hair is where you're taking the measurement from. Put your tape roll, then you run it through the shoulder up to the person's wrist. So here I have 31 inches. Another very important measurement is our face round. Our face round is also very important. So I have 22 inches here. So for all the measurements I have now, let me recap it. I have 70 inches for the back. I have 62 inches for the front. I have the side length at 31 inches. And I have the face round at 22 inches. So I'll be back to show you how to measure your fabric and cut your jilbab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Go.
So I'm back with my fabric. So if you remember, the back length of the jilbab that I measured is 70 inches. The front length is 62 inches. The side is 31.5 and the face round is 22. So first of all, I'm going to measure the back of the jilbab from my fabric. The back of my jilbab is 70 inches, but I'm going to be leaving it at 72 because of the allowance and because of that issue we had with the brown hijab. I don't want to have the same issue with this hijab, so I'm going to add extra 2 inches as allowance and for the snapping off of the jilbab. So I'm going to notch that place so that I can remember it when it's time to lay my fabric. So the next thing to do is to measure the front length of my jilbab. The front of the length of my jilbab is 62, but I'm going to be adding 2 inches for the same allowance that I mentioned and what have you. So 60, and I'm adding 4 inches. That's 64. So from there, I'm going to just pieces my fabric and separate it. Pieces it. If you are not capable, don't do this at home. Whoa. So that you not go and make mistakes. So I've set that aside. So this is our jilbab piece, and this is what we'll be working with. So this is my notch. From my notch, like always, we're going to be folding it on the wrong side so that all our markings is going to be on the wrong side. So this is our notch, the notch that I made. Ensure to adjust your fabric in such a way that it aligns at the top. If it aligns at the top, it is most likely going to align at the bottom. So now I'm moving it to the table, where I'm going to be showing you the next step. So if you look at the bottom part of the jilbab, you see that there's a bit of difference. That's because the back measurement is usually more than the front measurement. So this is the front and this is the back. So I want to fold it and lay my fabric on the table. It's time to lay my fabric on the table. Okay. So now, let's cut on our fabric. So I've laid the fabric the way I showed you earlier. All I just did was just fold it into two, and I aligned all the edges and make it lay nice and smoothly on my table, so that I don't go through too much stress. So now it's time to cut. Our first measurement is 22. That is where we are starting from, because this is where the face of our jilbab is going to be positioned. This is going to be the side of our jilbab, and that's the remaining part of the jilbab. So let's start with our face. Ordinarily in sewing, when you have a dimension that you have to divide by, when you have a dimension and you have your fabric folded into 4, you divide your dimension by 4. If you have your bust, and your fabric is folded into 4, you divide your bust into 4. But in the case of a jilbab, if you don't want to have troubles with your jilbab, if you want your jilbab to sit nicely on your chin area, you don't divide it by 4. What you do is, I'll explain as I go. You know, I said the measurement is 22. So ordinarily I have a standard that I use for my head area, which is usually from here to here. It's about 8 inches that I use. It's about 8 inches that I use. This area, I have a standard measurement for it, which is about 8 inches. So here I'm going to be taking 4.5 inches or 5 inches, as the case may be, for adding allowance to it. But I'm going to be taking 4.5 inches. I like to use half inches to stitch my jilbab. But if you'll be using more than half inches, you can take 5 inches. But I'm using half inches to stitch my jilbab, so I'm taking 4.5 inches here. I'm going to explain the reason why I'm doing this to you, so that you would understand it. But first, let me first of all pen down everything that I need to take. Remember that I said earlier that my side measurement is 31. So if I want to take my side measurement, all I have to do is just slide my tape roll from the edge of my face round and bring a slide form a slide, as the case may be. Yes, form a slide. That's what I'm supposed to do. But if I do it like this jilbab is going to be really wide, and the person that owns this jilbab doesn't want it this wide. She wants it to be about 50 inches wide, and 50 inches is about 25. So this is 25. I'm going to be adding an inch allowance, which is 26. So this is what I am going to be working with. So from here, I'm going to measure 29 inches. 29 inches because I want my jilbab to have like a 2 inches band. I want it to have a 2 inches band. So I'm going to be working with 29 inches here. So I mark where my 29 inches stop. Go in by 2 inches. Then come upward like this. In making clothing, it's better not to have a sharp edge. So I'm just going to give this place a curve. Make it a curve. Making it a curve. I've seen jilbabs whereby the side of this place, I've seen jilbabs whereby they just take in their measurement like this. It is not a curve, it is a straight line, because you want the sides of your jilbab to be free and you want fresh hair to go in through them. so it is a straight line and not a curve. So you go in like that. So now that I'm done with that, I know you will question me, but 4 times 4 is 16 inches. I know, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pathway for my neck. Our face is not a round surface, it's not a flat surface, it is a round surface, it has a curve. So you have to create a pathway for the curve, or else you will be having a bulge. So take for example, now this is your jilbab fabric and it is coming under your neck like this. So can you see this bulge that I'm getting under my neck? Some people like to have the bulge, but some don't. If you have somebody that likes to have the bulge, all you just have to do is divide it into 2 by 4 and just measure it and take out the side. But if the person doesn't want a bulge, you have to create a pathway for the neck. And creating a pathway just makes everything easy, just makes life easy, just makes it easy for you to just wear your hijab and you're good to go. So after that, now I want to create a pathway for my sleeve. My sleeve is just a normal simple fitted sleeve, which is just 2 inches. She doesn't want a zip, she doesn't want anything, because your sleeve measurement is dependent on a lot of things. It's dependent on your the type of sleeves you want. Do you want it to have gathers? Do you want it to have smoking thread? Do you want it to have rubber? Do you want it to have a shirt cuff? Do you want it to have a band, an elastic band? So whatever the case may be is what's going to be determinant of your sleeve. But for this jilbab, the determinant of our sleeve is she wants a normal sleeve. So what I'm going to do is take her wrist measurement, which I forgot to take from the illustration I made about measurement. Take her wrist measurement and take her upper wrist measurement just to be sure. So in this case, our upper wrist measurement is 12. So, and I want to take an half-inch allowance up for sewing and an half-inch allowance downwards for sewing. So half-inch plus half-inch is equal to 1 inch. So I'm going to be adding 1 inch. That's why I'm marking 7 inches here. So after this, the next thing to do is to go downwards, just like in clothes, abayas, and all of the other things. So the same way you took 2 inches in here is the same way I'm taking 2 inches in down here too. So I can either choose to go straight as the client prefers, or I can either decide to form a drape with it, which is not part of this class, or I can either decide to come out like an A-line. Any which way you decide, any which one you decide, just do as you please. But in this case, I'm just going to be going straight down because that is what my client wants. So I'm going straight down. You might prefer, I want to cut this on the floor if that is convenient for you, but I prefer to cut on the table because it is convenient for me. So now the question of what is going to happen to this place arises. When I get to my machine, after cutting, when I get to my machine, obviously I'm going to be having the issue of this one being longer than this one, and on the side too I'm going to have that issue. The best thing for me to do is to form a curve. Forming a curve just makes everything easy. Cutting your jilbab this way from the get-go saves you from a lot of drama and saves you from a lot of mistakes. So now what I just do is get into cutting and cut out my pieces. So let me start from the upper part. I'm still going to explain how I'm going to create a pathway for the neck, but let us cut our jilbab first. Like I said, if you're cutting for the first time, try to cut at the back of your chalk so that you give room for any mistakes that you've made to be adjusted. So after that, cutting out this place. I'm going all the way down. All the way down. So when I get to this place, I cut it. So we already have our jilbab. Looking at it, you will know that our jilbab is almost ready. But what is left for us is to detach this area because they are still together. You know, I just folded it the other time. Some people pieces it, but I like to keep it folded because this side won't be pieces, and it will be I'll be able to use it to do a lot more other things, like the cap, like the sleeves. I'm not going to stress too much. So now our front part is the shorter one, so I'm going to be removing the front part because that's what we want to work on, and I'm going to be taking away the back part so that I don't affect it mistakenly. I don't cut it out. So all that is left for me to do is, ordinarily, because I'm used to cutting jilbab, I would just normally just shape something like this and just cut it. But for this purpose of this tutorial, or for the purpose of this class, I'm going to be telling you how to get the measurements of this place. For example, now we already have 16 inches, which is for the back part we already have 8 inches. So to conclude our 22, we need about 14 inches, which means I need from here to here, I need it to measure 7 inches. So I'm going to just take my tape rule and see if it measures 7 inches. This is about 6 inches. So I'm going to measure. I'm going to look for a way to get it to measure 7 inches. So I'm going to push it a bit back. So you see, I have my 7 inches here. Try to get it as round as possible. So you're shaping it. So that is it. This is our under chin. Just look at it. You see, like I created a seat for it to sit down, so it is sitting perfectly under our chin. This is the most comfortable way to wear a jilbab, except if you want the bulge, because some people see it as a beautification for the hijab. They see that bulge beautifies their jilbab. Oh well and good. I have clients that tell me they want to make their jilbab and they want to have that bulge. But if there is no specification, this is the best way to make a jilbab. You will find it more comfortable letting your jilbab sit like this. So that is that about that. Right now I'm going to move into the cap and the sleeves. The cap and the sleeve is not difficult. In fact the sleeve, let me just do the sleeve first. You know, I said I want 2 inches for my sleeve, so I'm going to be taking 3 inches, 1 inch for allowance or sewing. I want it to be a doubled sleeve, as in I don't want it to be one like this. I want it to be 2 folded together like this. So I want 2 sleeves like that. So I'm going to take 14 inches, because 14 inches was what I took for when I was making the measurement the other time. What I took from here was 7 inches, and 7 times 2 is 14. So it's that same 14 that I'm going to be taking now. So I'm taking 14, so it aligns with my plants with the other. So I cut it like this. So this is one of the sleeves, and this is the other part of the sleeve. The shaping of the sleeves, like this, I like to do it with my machine. When I get to the machine, I like to do that with the machine. I'm going to show you when I get to the sewing stage of that. So let me bring the cap now. So I like my cap to be wide, because if your cap is wide, it grips your face. But if it is too wide, it poses a lot of challenges, like opening your head up, especially if your material that you're using is a crepe fabric. If you are using lycra, you can get away with any kind of cap, but the best type of cap, the best measurement for your cap is 8 inches by 4.5. This is the best measurement you can give your cap, regardless of your face shape or anything. 8 by 4. The only reason why it should be reduced is if you are using for kids. Then for kids, maybe you could probably use 6 by 3 or 6.5 by 3. So try and form a semicircle, something that is really oval, that you can call an oval shape. So you see, this dimension of cap sits properly, sits nicely. It's not too short and it's not too long. So this is our cap and our sleeve. So inshallah, I'm going to be showing you how to sew it shortly. So please stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I'm back to show you how to join your fabric. So this is the front piece and this is the back piece. So I'm going to be joining it like this. I'm using a contrasting thread so that you can see. I like to sew the side of my jilbab with the tiniest stitch on my machine, because the side of your jilbab is a bias line. If you do not sew it with the tiniest stitch on your machine, there's every tendency that it breaks at stretch. When you stretch it, it breaks. And if you do not sew with your the tiniest stitch on your machine, you can always do a top stitch. But I'm not going to be doing a top stitch for this one, so that's why I'm using the tiniest stitch on my machine. So if you look at it, I joined the side. So I've gotten to the sleeves, the sleeve area now. You join the other side the same way too, and I've done that. So let me show you the sleeves. So this is the sleeve. So we have 3 layers. Ensure that all 3 layers are captured when you're sewing. This is very easy for you to make that mistake of not capturing all 3 layers. So top stitch and you move. Make sure that all 3 layers are represented. So let me show you an example of what I mean by top stitching, in case if you're using a blackhead machine or a machine which the stitches is not so tight. So to top stitch, you flip to the side you want to. You flip all the bulk of your to the side where you want to top stitch it, to keep it down. So like that, you go and you stitch. You see, make sure it is close to the edge of your joining. Open your fabric if you have to. I mean, like spreading, leaving it like this, it looks bulky, but open it if you have to. Now, after that, you fold the side of your jilbab. So the wrist measurement of the person is 8, but would this 8 inches come out of our sleeves? It won't come out. Let us use 9. Ensure that whatever measurement that you use comes out of the person's sleeve easily. Ensure that the person is able to remove their sleeves, especially when it's not going to be having any zip or anything that will make it easy for it to come out. So for this project, I'm going to be using 4.5 for the sleeves, and I'm going to be using 6 inches for the upper sleeves. So from there, if you can't eye mark, you can easily just pick a chalk, mark your 6 inches, mark your 4.5, and create a line so that you know what you're sewing. But I'm used to it, so, and I know how to go about it, so I really don't need the chalk. I'm just showing you for the benefit of those who are starting off presently, slowly. So you just go that way and you keep going. You keep going. As you go, ensure to align your fabric. Align your fabric. So that's about our joining our jilbab side. So now I've joined the other side, but I just didn't do it on camera. So I'm going to show you what the jilbab looks like already. So we're already having our jilbab. It's already, as you can see, we already have jilbab elements. So we can call this a jilbab already. But we are still missing something. We're missing our cap. The person's face round, I told you, is 22. But one thing I forgot to mention while I was explaining measurements of a jilbab is when you want to attach any attachments, be it tie back, be it caps to your jilbab, your face, you can't use your exact face round. And the reason being that your exact face round, the caps makes a cap makes the face of your jilbab further smaller. It constricts your face. It makes the face of your jilbab smaller. So you need to like make it a bit like an inch wider than your normal. So take for example your face round is 22. You are to cut 23. In some cases 24. But in this case I'm going to be cutting 23 because she really wants her hijab to be firm on her face. So I'm just going to be retrimming this lace so that when I fit in my cap, I don't have the challenges of a very tight face. So if I measure this now, I should have 23 inches. I even have 24, but it's still fine. By the time I fix my cap and I measure it, you will understand what I'm saying. Or let me just try to put it on my head. I don't know if my own hijab, my own head will go through, so that you can understand what I'm saying. So look at it. Yes, exactly. Your before you put your cap, your hijab should be sitting like this. By the time you put your cap, the cap occupies the remaining area of the front and it constricts your hijab. But if before you put your cap, you already have something like this, your cap wouldn't have anywhere to sit on. So you have to expand the neck a bit to accommodate the cap. So now that I've expanded the face of the hijab. So now I'm going to sew. So now this is the notch. I have a center notch on the head of the jilbab. When I folded the jilbab like this, I notched the center of the head. So it is that center of the head that I'm going to align with this center. If you have office pins, pin it pin it, just to make your life easy. But because I'm used to this, I do it almost all the time, I really don't think I need it. So we are working with 3 layers as well, 2 layers for the cap and 1 layer for the this thing. So make sure that these 3 layers, they align. Ensure that they align. So you see this notch is kissing the second notch, and this is how it is supposed to be. The notch on my cap is kissing the notch on the hijab, and that's how it is supposed to be. That's what shows that I've not made mistakes in placing the cap for the jilbab. So I've successfully fixed the face of the hijab. Let me try it on so that you can see what I mean by the dimension laying perfectly fine. So you see that even with my glasses, even after I remove my glasses, the cap is sitting fine. Some cap, you will see them, the way they sit is very looking very ugly, not so nice. And just look at the way this one is sitting down pretty. So we have 2 more things to go. We have the hemming of the lower parts, which I won't be doing on camera. You can hem the lower parts, you can weave the lower parts, and the hemming of the neck region. But I'll be hemming the neck region now for you to see how it is done, just for you to know how it is done basically. So let's just get into hemming of the hijab neckline. So you lift up your cap and you roll yes. So you come to your sewing machine and you just have it taped down. Oh, sorry. Keep rolling till you get to the other end, and ensure that it is rolled under the cap too. So our jilbab is ready, and the things that are left to do is to weave the sides, to weave all raw edges, so keep it neat and nice, and to probably finish the lower part. I like to hem my jilbab, which is what I'm going to be doing for this jilbab. Let me just show you how I hem it. You just roll it basically. Is either you can do it 2 ways. You weave it first and you hem it. You weave it alone, or you just hem it. I like to do rolled hem for it, so I roll it and I just okay. So that's it. The thread has cut. Jazakumullah khairan. Thanks you for attending this class. It's been an honor. So up next will be our abaya class. Wait for it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.